A big hello to you, so great to see you and I hope I find you well. I'm Jenny Kirk, this is We're Yard, and today, well, we're going to be looking at an all-new product that's come from World Scenics. This is their service station, and if you're thinking about petrol pumps and maybe some very overpriced sweeties, not that kind of service station, no. This is a great way of keeping your locomotive fleet in tip-top shape, and it follows on from the range of loco storage units which you can see just up there above me that they brought out a little while ago that we did a full review on. They come in an easy to assemble pack, and we're going to be doing just that today and checking it out. So come with me, and thanks to World Scenics for sending over one of these for us to take a good close look at. Let's see just how effective these are at servicing your locomotive fleet, making it easy to do this without excessively handling your models, and to do it in a really safe and effective way. Today's video comes in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCT decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabrique.co.uk. Additional support comes from
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model double O gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com and don't miss out on your latest loco.
I have to admit that maintenance is something that I kind of defer an awful lot of with my locomotive fleet, but as anybody who runs these things an awful lot knows, there's that horrible black deposit that builds up on wheels that can actually be really difficult to get rid of, and the service station does provide solutions for being able to do this. It also allows you to do things like work on the underside of a locomotive really quite easily, and most importantly without risking breaking any of the detail and all that finery on models that they are getting increasingly, that if you're holding it in your hand you're likely to cause some major calamity to your model. So let's get on and take a look at this service centre from World Scenics. Following on from World Scenics' incredibly useful loco storage drawer units, they've now brought out this, the service station, and this is using a similar style of construction, but gives you a really handy basis from which you can service your own locomotive fleet. So looking on the front here, we've got the construction here. It's not painted in the picture. One of the things I always like to do is to give mine a coat of a kind of grey colour. There's two reasons for this. One, it looks nice and pretty, but also it seals the surface, and that stops the slightly burnt smell that you get from where the laser cut MDF has had its interaction with the laser. So these go together much the same way. So you get it in a flat pack box. I'm just going to slide this out. So with the top slip case off, let's just open this up and I can show you how this comes. And if, like me, servicing your locomotive fleet is not just a bit tiresome, but you know, especially when you want to scrape any gunk off the tyres, it can be quite difficult, because unless the locomotive itself is running, then you're going to have a bit of difficulty in cleaning all of the wheels. So I've got all of the components out, and just like those storage tray units, very similar idea, but visually we've got some other parts here as well, and I think probably the most obvious one is we've got this device. I'm just going to take it out of its bag, and we've got some other plastic pieces there. All will come clear in the instructions. We've got some screws, and I think this is a holder for a 9-volt battery, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. So yes, we are looking at a 9-volt battery holder, and that is more than enough to be able to run up a DC locomotive. And then we've got the scraper stroke applicators for that power, which are exactly the right width for getting them onto the wheels. Now, if, like me, you use DCC, then one of the things you can do is cut these wires off, and maybe with a bit of an extension wire you can wire these back to your track bus, and that then does allow you to run up a DCC model, although that might be just a little bit trickier. If you get intermittent connection, then it will sort of stop and start a little bit, but certainly this is the kind of device that you need for that. We've got the rest of the bits and pieces, and what I'm now going to do is start putting it together. So we do get comprehensive instructions, and you can see here we've got a contents list. You can check these before you start, and a picture of what the finished item looks like, and then it's just a simple case of going through the instructions. We've also got the loco raiser and loco holder. The loco holder is the same style as what we've already used on those loco trays, and it's quite simple. We've got some drawers as well for storing important bits and pieces, so this looks to be quite a handy little workstation, and certainly one that you could take with you to the club, to model railway exhibitions. And if you've ever been to a model railway exhibition as an exhibitor, you almost certainly end up buying something, and this does mean that you can get to work and do bits and pieces on that locomotive, and more importantly, check that all is working. So I'm going to now get on and start the construction. The glue I'm going to use is Deluxe Materials Speed Bond, which is a kind of fast setting white glue or PVA. So it's quite simple, and we're just going to do that with a speeded up montage. It went together really quite easily. I have to say the fit on the pieces was really good. I had no issues slotting this together, and it was actually quite an enjoyable build, just like the rest of the Warworld Scenics MDF range. The laser cutting straight and true. If I had to pick one thing which I struggled slightly on, that was just the pieces that had like a little tab. They were on what you could loosely call an MDF sprue, and the scalpel I had was just a little bit too weak to easily get through that, but I did get through it in the end, so not a big issue. And left the glue to dry overnight. Now there's a couple of things that you won't have seen in the sped up footage, and we've got this magnetic pad here. Now on the build you'll have seen a little laser cutout area that says magnet, and it did leave me wondering. I didn't see anything in the instructions about that, but it doesn't take rocket science to work out that's where you stick these little flexible magnetic pads, which remind me of the material that livery changes on trucks are made out of, that you whack on the door panel and suddenly an Asda truck doesn't look like an Asda truck for delivering into a Morrison's depot. Don't ask me how I know that. And it's not the strongest of magnets, so I've got a small connecting rod here, and as you can see, that's going nowhere. So a really useful place to keep small screws and stop them from plummeting into the unknown. The other thing that you won't have seen me assemble is the battery compartment. Now, I did a bit of mass muppetry. I managed to put the ends on the wrong way round, and there's nothing to stop you doing that, but as you can see that this sits on top of the battery compartment. Actually, the battery compartment's supposed to be at the other end. So one criticism with the instructions wasn't entirely clear on that. But, you know, again, not a huge issue. So we got there in the end, and this battery compartment just pulls on out, and then all we need to do is load up a 9-volt battery. I actually took this out of my Warworld Scenics static grass applicator. Make sure you get it the correct way round against the spring, push it in, and then that now means that we've got the power up and set up on this little prong here. Now, when the battery is in there, just be a bit careful, because if this manages to find anything metal, it will short out and can cause some issues, and you probably don't want to lick your fingers and rest it across there. But what that now means is that we can power up locomotives and get them running. And there we go. So we've got that powered up, and that essentially means that we've got a power source anywhere that we go. Now, I did briefly mention this. So we've got a nice little easy to remove holder for some small parts, which is quite useful. But then we also have these 2 drawers which just slide in underneath, and these are also really handy places to put some bits and pieces. So I've been rummaging, and I've got a few bits and pieces that we can store in these, and it's just a handy source of spare parts as and when we need them. And let's have some fell wheel sets. We've got a few of those, a few more. And these are all things that can come in useful whilst you are servicing a model, and they just keep nice and neatly into the underside there and there. Let's put that back in there for safekeeping. Now, in terms of tools, let's have a look at what tools we can put into this. So I'm going to let's see now. So there we go. We've got a scalpel. And I think that fiberglass brush would be quite useful. A pair of needle nose pliers. Are they going to fit? They are a bit on the big side, it must be said. That's unfortunate. They would have been very, very useful. So instead, actually no, there. That's perfect, actually. And we're going to need one of these. There's a little paintbrush just for brushing stuff off. Maybe we want a bigger one just for removing dust. So we can, let's have a look now. Actually, let's see, can we... I think I've made a bit of a boo-boo in the construction. And again, something which, when I was assembling it, wasn't made absolutely clear in the instructions. One thing I would feed back is that it needs to really emphasize that some of these do need to go a certain way round, because if you're building it in a hot room and you're a little bit tired, it's very easy to get the innards the wrong way round. It's not the end of the world, but no, let's put that one to one side. I'm going to get a selection of screwdrivers, little jeweler's screwdrivers. So I'm going to put that in there. And put that one in there, and that one in there, that one in there. So we've got our assortment of jeweler's screwdrivers. The little nut spinner is a little bit on the short side, so we're going to pop that in there. And if you're going to a show, then I have to say a track rubber, that's a nice place to put that. And then we've got some oil for lubricating. There is a handy spot for that, which just sort of stops it from moving about too much. And then when it comes to actually servicing your locomotive, I'm just going to move that back. We've got our cradle here. Now, there is a divider, just like we saw in the storage boxes. But we've got this additional insert, which I presume is for being able to... It's got like this felt covering, which I misidentified as plastic in the opening. It's not, as felt, which you can rest the locomotive on, and it'll avoid the livery getting scratched. But that just feels a little bit too high. Again, something else I would feed back is that that just feels to be just a little bit higher up than I would have been comfortable with. If anything, a felt insert that goes along the bottom in here might have been quite useful, because then that really does store the locomotive quite securely. And then we can use the small divider piece. I'm just going to move that up there, and that just stops that locomotive from sliding about. And we can then use the prongs here to not just spin up the motor, but these are great for scraping that black gunk off the wheels. So there we are, and it will also help identify any wheel sets that have poor pickups, because that's a good pickup. That's got a bit of a poor pickup. Waggling that helps us identify it. And then the final one, that's got a reasonable pickup as well. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. And of course, its big party trick is we can take it away from the railway room. If you're going to an exhibition, you can load this up in the boot of the car with everything else, and it's a handy little workstation home from home. Or we could go to the park. It's a lovely day outside. Go and sit outside and service locomotives in the sun. Or if you work away from home, it's something you can take and just set up in a hotel room perhaps, and be able to keep in touch with your hobby even if you're working a week away from home. You could take it with you, say if you work as a driver. It's something that when you're parked up for your legal break, then this is something you can put on the dashboard and just do a bit of locomotive servicing and then safely put it away when you're done. So all in all, it's a pretty reasonable system, and it has a lot of different applications. My only takeaway from this would be that I felt in places the instructions weren't quite as emphatic as they could have been about the places where the pieces should have gone. And I know you're probably screaming at the screen right now that yeah, I should have looked at those a lot closer, but it's very easy when you build these to accidentally assemble things the wrong way round. But as you see, it's not really a big issue. And certainly this is a great handy workstation where you can load up all of your tools in one easy place. It's really easy to transport them, and it gives you immense flexibility for servicing locomotives on the go. The price on this service station is $49.99 if you buy it direct from World Scenics, and it is also available, I noticed, through Amazon, but you do pay a premium of a few pounds for that. All in all, it's an easy to put together product that really does build up into a strong unit that can either be permanently emplaced in your railway room or taken with you on the go anywhere. Really, you are just limited by your imagination. And the only things I would say is do pay close attention to the handedness of some of the pieces. When assembling, it's very easy to get carried away and assemble some parts backwards. And if you have DCC locomotives, you will have to enable DC running to be able to run them off that 9-volt battery, but it should be safe for your locomotives to run from that, because it does amount to a regulated 9-volt supply. This gets a big thumbs up from me. We have a link in the description box down below that takes you to the appropriate part of the World Scenics website, and this is certainly something that you might be seeing me at some of the forthcoming shows such as Getz or Worley, hoiking this around and making the most of it as I hoover up lots of purchases. But big thank you to World Scenics for sending this over and giving us the opportunity to have a good close look. Well, I hope you really enjoyed today's video and found it informative, and don't forget that we've got a link down below that takes you to the World Scenics website where you can pick up this service station for yourself. You can either pick it up at shows from their stand or get it mail order from them, or indeed go and visit their shop in the Swansea area where you can browse their full range of products. And I'd love to know what you think about this in the comments section down below. Let me know if it's something you've tried, or maybe it's it's something that you've looked at and thought, I'm going to give that a go. That looks like something that's going to solve a lot of problems I've been having and trying to keep on top of the maintenance of my locomotive fleet. And don't forget as well to tickle that like button, share this video and subscribe too if you've not already done so. And you can also find us over on Patreon to help support the channel to keep making the videos that you want to see. But until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying you take great care of yourself. Happy modelling. Bye for now. Today's video comes in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabrique.co.uk. Additional support is provided by...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model double-O gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com and don't miss out on your latest loco.
I'd like to thank everybody over on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to our Patreon heroes. Without you guys over on Patreon, we really wouldn't be able to keep making the video content that you see on this channel. And don't forget that you can also head on over to patreon.com/JenniferKirk and check out the different tiers of rewards. Thank you so much. You are absolute legends.